Hi folks, we're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the education system. Now, there's a lot of, you probably everyone's seen those videos with street interviews where people get asked questions like, who was the first president of the United States, or how many senators are there in the federal U.S. Senate, or basic questions. Who's the current vice president of the United States? Who was the former vice president of the United States? And on it goes. Now, some pretty basic questions. You think that anybody would be aware? Any adult will be aware of those. Now, the people that they're targeting tend to be people in their late teens, or maybe somewhere between the age of 18 and early 30s, I guess, seems to be that. And they often go to beach areas and, either on the beach or along the boardwalks or promenades or something, stopping people asking questions. I'm surprised that, I'm sure they've edited out the people that do answer the question. I don't know how many they would have stopped. And there's got to be some that must know. Can't be that nobody knows these. Can't be that nobody knows these things. But it's clear that a large number of people. What throws me is how many of the people are college kids. Like the was one college kid was a young woman, probably 23 or something, and she's asked, who was the first president of the United States. Now, she doesn't know. She doesn't know some other basic political questions. What's the First Amendment to the Constitution or something like that. And so what are you studying? Oh, political science. Yeah. There's another one has just got a certification or degree for being a teacher and was asked again something basic and didn't know. So what's also clear is when these kids are asked questions that relate to the topic they're studying or majoring in university, they still don't know the answer. And you say, well, wow, that's insane. What are these people learning about? But if you ask them about what's the most important issue to you, climate change, gay, lesbian, trans, and they'll talk about socialist, these sort of social issues where there are no facts. It's all emotion. It's all venting and so on. And they'll be able to give you lengthy monologues about, gay, lesbian issues, how there are, fascist, white supremacist Nazis are everywhere, and the most ludicrous talking points will be put out. Did you know that the 10 million black people are hung every day swinging from the trees in the southern United States, hundreds of millions, and it's done by Hitler, and they'll give you these. You think, fuck, are you insane? But this is the sort of stuff, and they appear to be, seriously unbalanced. You'd almost think mentally defective. That they can't have an IQ above 90, given these things. So they're all fighting back against this injustice, but accepting without question the utterances of their radicalized or radical lecturers. Now, if you are fighting back against the system, definitely at university, the lecturer is part of the system, so surely you'd question that. But whatever the lecturer says is fact and true, but whatever anyone else says is lies and untruth. So this very, very odd sort of balance or imbalance, if you like. Now, what is the purpose of education? Now, I get to interview people for jobs over the years, and I've watched it. Like I'm 62 now. I've watched it progress from or move along from a time when people would sit in front of you wanting to show you just how good they were, as in, they were proficient, they were qualified, they were credentialed, they were competent, they were experienced, they were eager to do better and to improve and to learn and to add value to the company, and all this sort of stuff. To listening to people who had no interest in those things, or little or no interest. Now, this is particularly the case with minorities. Minorities have been taught to believe they're oppressed by evil white Nazis, and so they must be given, they are entitled to restorative justice measures, affirmative action, diversity, equity, inclusion, compensation, and for these imaginary slights that they or their ancestors may have suffered. Or they were being told this. So they're sitting in an interview, and this is say for interview for, I'm thinking now of interviewing for graduate engineers. This is construction engineers, and the minorities, particularly the women, the young women, because they're only like 22, 23, something like that, and they have to pass a practical sort of Q&A type thing. Now, it's not difficult. It's basic, volumetric mathematics, that sort of stuff. So it's 101, and none of them, not a single one of them, knows the answers, and they're outraged that they're being asked these questions. What do you hate women or something? So they come out straight away with these angry lesbian feminist talking points. You just have to give me the job because I'm a minority. Why are you testing me? Because by testing me, you're judging me. By judging me, it means you're a white supremacist, misogynist, patriarchy, Hitler, and they'll go straight to that as soon as they're being judged or evaluated or measured or tested. It's patriarchy. That's it. That misogyny. And they don't even attempt. And some of them say, these young women, they say, well, facts actually don't matter anymore. Facts are irrelevant. I don't need to know anything, because anything I need to know information-wise, any fact, anything at all, any arithmetic, mathematical formula to do this or that in engineering, I can get it off the internet at any time I want. Now, that is true, the information superhighway and everything. But their argument is, because the facts are there, I don't need to know. I don't need to know any facts. But I do need to fully experience the wide gambit of emotion about climate change, or about misogyny, or about the patriarchy, all that sort of stuff. So where now facts have been removed from, who was the first president of the United States? Fuck, I don't know. That type. Once facts are removed from the knowledge type learning, then what's filled the void is emotional learning, getting agitated about climate change. Now, it was made very clear when certainly I was a kid at school, that the idea of an education was, apart from improving your job prospects and thus your income earning prospects, apart from all that, your job was, or the purpose of it was, to ensure that you would become a valuable, productive member of society. And some of you will go on to find the cure for cancer, or build bridges, or whatever, and design the new mechanical device for such and such and so on. So, but the idea is, work hard, learn as much as you can, become proficient, become competent, and then you will be a more productive member of society, which means you help your fellow citizens, because the productive work that you do will in turn benefit others. And I took that on board as being pretty serious, and I applied, and I was a reasonably diligent student, and I applied myself accordingly. I never did find the cure for cancer, by the way, but this was factual, not because you needed to know the facts per se, but because your ability to learn, acquire knowledge, acquire information, then to put that information, that knowledge, that learning into a certain sequence of the most practical usage, which could lead to the finding the cure for cancer, or designing the new mechanical device, or the new electrical device, and so on. It did relate to the knowledge you acquire, and your ability to acquire knowledge, and to, in a disciplined manner, use that knowledge, be they facts or a sequence of facts, or whatever, or understanding of a concept. For example, you could understand nuclear physics conceptually, or rocket science conceptually, and then you transfer that knowledge, that conceptual knowledge, into the practical plane, this sort of thing. That's completely gone. It would appear to me that the young women that I've interviewed, some of the young men, more the gay guys and, the super lefty sort of people, but they believe education is there to radicalise them. Well, they wouldn't see it as radicalisation. We're being told about the oppression by the evil Nazi Hitlers that are everywhere, under every bed, in every closet, and so we're being taught to fight back against this evil oppression, slavery and climate and this and that, and they're being hand delivered effectively from the high school classroom into the waiting arms of the radical NGOs that yet further radicalise them, with all this slush fund money they get and Soros money. So that every kid that I used to interview, or a younger person I used to interview, they'd worked at McDonald's or the local grocery store, and then until probably the early 2000s, I guess, I could see the switch. Particularly the young girl, or the young women rather, they were all employed by NGOs. And when we put out adverts for our business, say we're doing a trade show, for example, and we often do trade shows, and then we hire people to sort of be on the stand, on the trade show stand, to hand out brochures or just shepherd the people with inquiries into the myself or my colleagues that have the knowledge and that sort of stuff. So we hire these people, and they're only there for a few days. I mean, so it's not like it's a long-term career gig. But I'm surprised that. Well, no, actually, I'm not surprised. None of them, all of them, every single one of them, their only employment has been working at NGOs, placard waving. Well, what did you? And sometimes I talk often on the phone, and they'll maybe send a headshot or something, and then I'll talk to them on the phone rather than have them run around town or me run around town arranging face-to-face interviews. And so they've only ever worked at NGOs. So, well, what do you do for the NGO? Oh, it's climate. It's very important to me that we save the world from climate change because the white fascist Nazis are trying to destroy. So I'm out on the street waving placards and they give us the stuff to say, hey ho ho and so on, da 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 da. And they give us the placards, and sometimes we do a little dance routine and this and the young woman. I mean, again, they'll be like 20 years old, something like that. They'll be talking about how much they enjoy it, and it's great, and they tell you, they give us food and drink, and they've got this, and then we go and have a party afterwards, and everything's paid for, and they give us they've got a bus that buses us into the town to do it, and I might ask something. Did you ever sort of consider where the money comes from to pay for all this? And they'll look at me as if why would I care about that? It just is. It just is how the world is, and so this is the sort of people that are being brought up through the education system. And I noticed this when I was at high school. There was this drift, the beginning of the drift to say, well, if we have a merit-based system, then straight white males will always come first. They will always be in control. They will always have the best jobs. They will always be in the decision-making positions if we have who comes first in the exam, that type of thing. So what we have to do to create a fair and meritorious society is to just do away with exams, just do away with any sort of judging or measuring or just do away with it. And that'll break that damn fascist Nazi patriarchy. And then we'll have true equity and equality and so on based on ideology. So we've seen a few things moving moving on, it's beginning to converge. And one is that the knowledge society is gone. And to some degree, kind of understand it, because we say, well, I don't need to know anything because I can always find out within seconds from the internet or from my, the mobile phone. I can find out anything I need to know. Whereas that wasn't always the case. So if you needed to know something or find out something, you had to, go down to the local community library or maybe the school library if it was well stocked. Go to the local community library you had to look it up and research it, and make notes and all that, and then you had to memorize it. You don't have to do that so much anymore. The value of facts and information has changed because it was hard to come by. Thus, you needed to memorize it, to a situation now where it's easy to come by, which is quite falsely, in my view, given it a level of virtual irrelevance, which is a misplaced thought. But nonetheless, so there's the change in the value and the accessibility of facts and information means that because people aren't memorizing facts, they're not able to put them in useful sequence. And without looking at facts, and then you can't see the contradictions, you can't see the hold on a minute, fact A, fact B, and then it goes to fact D. Where's C in all this? We need C before we understand the sequence. That's gone. That ability to put facts in sequence and knowledge and understanding. So that's important. Now, what's replaced it in education is not only that facts are irrelevant, but the issue of social equity and outcomes that in a merit-based system, in a rigorous system, it is impossible to achieve equity. Just cannot be done. Therefore, any sort of rigor and merit has to be done away with, has to be got rid of, and then equity will automatically replace it. But that's not so either. That's a misplaced idea. Firstly, what's the definition of equity? I mean, the equal outcomes, all this sort of thing. But what's the benefit to society of having a moron as the CEO, or having a brain dead hack black lesbian in charge of medical procedures at the hospital, or having a brain dead such and such one-legged whatever being in charge of space research? That's not equity, because it devalues everything they do, and the knock-on effect is that everybody therefore has a lower value and a lesser value and less utility to the whole community. So it's stealing utility from the wider community, not adding to it, as the social engineers would claim. So these are some of the wider issues around it, but we needn't be shocked anymore. I think when we look at people, I don't know who the first president of the United States is, and I'm a political major, or someone studying law, where I don't care about facts and evidence in a court of law. What I care about is equity and social justice. These are now the standards that we have, and they've been allowed to develop and seep in and creep into and permeate all of the institutions. And it's good to see that at least the beginnings of that fight back from the presidency of President Trump are beginning to be put in place. Now, on the other side, there's still hope for us yet. That, say, coming back to the engineering interviews I mentioned a little bit earlier, whereas all the minorities couldn't answer the questions. Well, actually, not all. No, there was a Japanese guy and someone else, another guy, like brown sort of people, and non-Anglo people. Two boys, they did pretty good actually. So more or less on par with the white guys or close to it. But every Anglo-Saxon white boy with engineering degrees, every Anglo-Saxon white boy knew the answers, was proficient, was really on the ball. Any one of those, I'd have been happy if they went and built the bridge or built the new highway or whatever. They knew their shit. They were on the ball. They were dedicated. They wanted me to know that they knew their stuff. And you couldn't have got a bigger contrast between the girl engineers, the young women engineers, and the young male engineers. It was the Grand Canyon isn't wide enough to portray the difference or display the difference between the two. The girls were not educated, didn't give a shit, were entitled, believed that they should be given an engineering job based on some sort of insane notions of equity and restorative justice. But the boys believed they should gain the job based on merit. They know their stuff, and they're going to do a good job. They want to do a good job. They want to be proficient. And the contrast between the two couldn't have been greater. So there is hope for the future. You've been a tasteless today. Your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.